Joined by Anthony Bwalya. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Diamond Live.
Thank you, Jonah. We're delighted to be here, and it's a very good evening to the citizens of this wonderful republic.
Thank you. Feel good to finally win the election.
Well, I mean, we had always indicated over the course of the entire campaign, and the president did highlight this both in his acceptance speech and his inaugural speech, that this victory is not for the UPND. It's not even for him. The victory is for the Zambian people themselves, the young people, the marketeers, the taxi drivers, the farmers, the factory workers. These are the people who turned up in their numbers to decisively decide to deliver for themselves a new leadership. And again, the president was very categorical, and I think the public did notice when he made reference to the process of handing over the instrument of power. He said, do you know what? What is being handed to us is not power per se. We are being given the mantle of leadership and responsibility to preside over the affairs of this country and its people, much for the benefit of the people. So we are taking this privilege very, very seriously. The president is grateful, is indebted to the Zambian people, and his heart is filled with gratitude. And he just wants to serve and deliver the utmost best for all the Zambian citizens, so that we all will be able to look back on his legacy and tenure in office as one which absolutely delivered the ultimate best for this country and its people. So we're privileged to be in a position of service to this country and the Zambian people.
It's a huge responsibility that you hold as a United Party for National Development, but also because it's a huge responsibility. In the first few days of the Hakainde Hichilema presidency, there seems to be some confusion, a little bit of confusion, because members of the UPND seem to be falling all over each other, wanting to speak on behalf of the president, wanting to speak on behalf of the state. And why is everyone talking? That's probably the first question I should ask you. So, why is everyone talking on behalf of government, on behalf of the president?
So just to be very clear, there is no confusion, none whatsoever. The president is working, and is working around the clock. Those of us who have the privilege of being around him for the vast portion of what his working days are worth, we are seeing the huge amount of work that is having to go through over the course of every day, meeting bilateral partners, multilateral partners, business leaders in this country and outside of this country, citizens as well, collecting his thoughts and making sure that the development agenda is well directed at improving and uplifting the welfare and well-being of the Zambian people. Absolutely zero confusion. There is a total sense of focus and determination. So when all of this noise is erupting and arising, his message and his words to all of us around him is, we have to keep the focus. The Zambian people elected us with a real sense of duty and expectation. We have to keep the focus for what it is worth for them and to them and their families. Just today, I was driving down Leopards Hill Road, and I branched off into Kalingalinga. And a few citizens recognized me, and as usual, they came to congratulate us on the tremendous collective work which we did over the course of the campaign and in helping them deliver the monumental election victory. And then they pointed to the heaps of garbage around Bawlini, not Kalingalinga rather, but Bawlini. And you begin to getting a sense that the Zambian people, ordinary people, their sense of focus hasn't really shifted. They're just concerned about the basics. They just want to live in a clean living environment, clean running water, schools, healthcare, jobs, just the basics, lower cost of living. And that is what the president is focused on. We are not going to be deterred or swayed by counterproductive and unproductive noises that are coming from all quarters, because there's always going to be detractors along the route. Just the same way that we refuse to be detracted on the campaign trail, we shall not be detracted. The president will not be detracted. We shall keep the focus, and we shall keep the determination and the resolve, and we'll get the job done.
I don't want to consider it detractors. I don't want to consider them detractors, because the person that has raised his concerns, the Zambian person, through the very platform that you use largely, social media, is speaking from a point of experience. And they're speaking from a point of experience in the sense that they've seen party officials interfere or meddle in the affairs of government. And it starts with the little things. It starts with making pronouncements that are not supposed to be made by certain individuals. And perhaps that's where the concern is coming from.
And let me make it very, very clear. The president has been very clear and unequivocally so when he said that insofar as this new administration is concerned, there's got to have to be a very clear and distinct separation between the party and government. We do not want to run an administration where party affairs begin to infiltrate how government works. There has to be a distinction and a clean line between the two.
So why is it happening now?
And that resolve has not changed. Just in the same manner that when we say that there was going to have to be a return to the rule of law and law and order, whereas you are going to see one or two teething issues, it doesn't mean that the resolve and the determination, the commitment of returning this country to law and order and the rule of law has changed. In the same manner, when we say that there's going to have to be a clear and distinct separation between the party machinery and how government functions, and that how the party functions should absolutely never interfere in the manner and in the way that government functions. We absolutely just mean that. And
like,
this is
like
why,
what happened today.
And this is
like
why,
what happened today.
And this is why,
like what happened today.
Part of our commitment and part of the president's commitment, Jonah, and the Zambian people, we need to be clear, is the issue of independence and professionalism into how government works. We have always said that how government functions, it must function on the basis of professionalism. We don't want interference by political party cadres, whether in this era or in the next era, just in the same manner that we said no to this toxic culture of interference into government affairs at political party level. It's not going to happen under the watch of this president, and that is an assurance.
I don't know if it's not going to happen because it happened today, And I think the person at home would also like to know how you've dealt with it, because we're just talking about a few hours ago, and this is where the entire conversation started from. So what have you done?
But you and I, Jonah, know.
No, not me, but what about the person?
And the Zambian people must know, because I'm just about to explain, that how government functions is a matter of guided protocols and procedure. And this is very, very clear. It is not a matter of what you think, what I think, or anybody else thinks. We have to respect government protocols and procedure. And this is exactly what the president means. And he always emphasizes every time we are sitting for a meeting, he always wants to make sure that, first of all, the sitting of that particular meeting is legally binding, it's in order, and he always wants to make sure that in the course of our deliberations, we are not sidestepping what the law requires. And that commitment has not changed. And the conversation that has been taking place over the course of the day, and again we have guided, as we've always known, that all matters relating to the presidency and how the president functions from day one to whenever he vacates office, it is all a matter for government procedure and protocol. All the questions that were being raised today will be guided and will be executed according to existing government procedures and protocols. And this is why I want to agree with my brother, Uncle KBF, and he said, we have to give the president time. The president is busy working. He's working around. Right now as we speak, he is having meetings.
That message needs to go to your members.
No,
it's not the Zambian people. It's your members that are issuing the statements.
And you have to remember, we have been very clear that we are not running a government for the UPND. We are running a government for all the Zambian people. So the messages that we are sending out are not just applicable to the UPND.
Well, they're the ones issuing the statement.
They are applicable to every Zambian. And what we are saying right now is government is independent of political party functionaries and processes. And we have to respect that. And the UPND continues to maintain that position, that we will respect how government processes and protocols function. And we will not interfere that. If and when you see a lapse here and there, it doesn't mean that our commitment has wavered or has been derailed. But it also gives us an opportunity, again, to re-emphasize our commitment to ourselves and every other citizen and operative out there, that we have to respect how government functions, processes, and procedures. And this is a matter of our commitment to returning to the rule of law and order. It is as simple as that.
So people should not be worried that the very angel that ushered the United Party for National Development into office, being the communication that you have with the person, could suddenly be the demon that is the downfall of the UPND. People should not be worried of that. And I make reference to it because the impression could also be that there's a lot of hullabaloo going around, a lot of noise that could potentially be, as you put it, a detractor.
The president is committed to focusing on the right kind of things, irrespective of the noise that is going to arise from certain quarters, irrespective of the teething problems that are sort of not exactly inconceivable when you're trying to anchor a new government down. But we want to keep and maintain, and we want to continue projecting this message to the Zambian people that we will run a government that is transparent. We will run a government that is accountable to you, the people. And when the people raise concerns such as the ones that they were raising today, we are here, again, reaffirming our commitment to respecting a clear, distinct line of operation between party and government, and making sure that everybody respects how government processes and protocols functions, not just in and around the presidency, but all other government departments. We think that that is very, very important.
It is important. One of the other things, before we move on, one of the other things, and I think I've heard this, you probably have heard it as well, is what some governance or former political leaders or former government officials analyzing the entire ordeal surrounding President Hichilema, his inauguration, for example, and they are having this sense that the president might not exactly be fully trusting in the security system that has been set up by the country. Is this President Hichilema's position that he's a bit hesitant in dealing with the security that is being provided for him by the state? Is he hesitant at all?
And again, the presidency is an institution. It is not just an individual. Therefore, how the presidency is anchored in this country is well guided and governed by government protocols and procedures, Jonah. We all should know that. You just made reference to an event, a wonderful event, which took place a few days ago, the inauguration of the president at the Hero Stadium. That function was a state function. It was conducted and carried out fully by a department under cabinet office. So all government processes were at play. This is not an individual that we're talking about, and we need to be very, very clear. So to start casting aspersions and innuendos around the president and the presidency this early, we find it a bit bizarre. What we want to emphasize is that we are fully committed to respecting government processes in the manner that the presidency functions and is anchored down, and we'll follow that through to the latter. So the Zambian people absolutely have nothing to worry about. The core focus for you and I and all the Zambian people right now is holding the new government and the president accountable for the promises that we're making over the campaign promises, and making sure that we move this country and its people in the right direction. That is what the people want to hear, and these are the kind of conversations that we need to be having going forward. When you sit in the meetings which the president has been having with a host of regional and world leaders and also local leaders here about the economy, you will be mesmerized at the enthusiasm which is coming to the table for an entire array of economic support to be brought into this country so that we can begin delivering on the critical needs of the Zambian people. Support for healthcare, support for agriculture, support for social protection and education, and so on and so forth. These are the things that the Zambian people voted us into power to make right. And these are the conversations that, at the moment, are taking front and center of our engagement. These are the things which are keeping the president awake right now. This is why right now, when you go to his residence right now, he's not sleeping. He's in a suit. He's having meetings because he cares for this country and is absolutely desperate to making sure that he delivers for the Zambian people, because this presidency is not for him. He's holding it in trust for the millions of Zambians who lined up to go and cast the ballot on his account. So that is what is preoccupying him. That is what is preoccupying the minds of all of us around him.
one of the things that he has done, according to a tweet and a statement issued on his social media, is that there's been a team of economic experts that has been constituted, and this is one that is supposed to make an analysis of the Zambian economy and an evaluation which should ultimately create a proper plan and strategy to economic recovery. What is this team? Who are these people? And when are they going to bring to the fore whatever plan they are analyzing?
Yeah, so as you know, the transition has been ongoing, and obviously there was a need for the new administration to have various arms within the transition team. One of them being the economics team, to be able to bridge the gap between the new administration and the existing works which were taking place and being carried out by the previous administration. So this is a team of competent men and women that has been put together, and we're trying to harmonize the intimations in our party manifesto against everything else that currently exists at governmental and other departmental levels within government, so that we can create some kind of synergy in the manner that we project ourselves, going forward. So this team of economic experts, again, has been engaging representatives of bilateral partners, multilateral partners, business people in this country, just to calibrate the economic environment and know exactly what is it that we need to tackle, how, when, and how quickly.
Can I, just to be clear, they're doing this on behalf of government, or are they doing this on behalf of the economic team from the UPND?
Like I've said, there's been a transition process that has been taking place. You have a new government in place. We have our own economic aspirations for this country and its people. So we need now to harmonize our aspirations, economic aspirations, and also what currently exists. We need to build bridges and build synergies so that we can begin now to execute these economic plans. So this is nothing. Nothing unusual. It is part of the transition process. We needed it, and we're glad that we have it in place.
She brings another aspect of our conversation, and this has got to do with young people. And she talks about two different things that we were going to talk about. But the first thing is one of the very first things that when he was even president-elect, he talked about from the political party, the UPND, and ultimately also trickling it down to communicating with former President Edgar Lungu, the rule of law within these public places, the bus stations, the markets, and the like. First of all, there's clear evidence that there's a reduction in this just within Lusaka. But it's not completely gone, because it is still prevalent at Soweto Market here in Lusaka. But beyond that, these are also citizens of this country that we're in these markets, in these bus stations. What is the clear plan that you have as the UPND government to deal with these people? Because left unchecked, they could potentially be a danger to the security of the citizens.
First of all, we need to make it very, very clear, Jonah, that the president absolutely intends to make good on all the campaign promises which he made, because he's an honest man. He's not the kind of man who's going to tell you today that he's going to do something and the next day he changes that he's not going to do it. We can debate issues of when and how, but we will not debate the president's commitment to making good on the campaign promises that we made. That is very, very clear. And this is exactly what we meant when we said over so many years that we needed to return this country to law and order, and we need to return to the rule of law. And we also indicated that the control of markets, bus stations, and taxi ranks needed to go back to the control of councils. We believe that that was absolutely critical. And even once the Zambian people decided we should be the government, we never changed. We said there was no place for political party cadres, whichever political party they were coming from, to be harassing you and I and every other citizen in markets. And this is why, at the same time, we were emphasizing the independence of institutions. We just pronounced that there needed to be law and order and the rule of law in the manner that markets functioned. We also indicated that the control of those public spaces needed to go back to councils. Because of the emphasis on the independence of institutions, you saw the councils moving in. They never needed an instruction from anyone for them to move in because they knew it was the right thing to do. Just now, we are getting unverified intimations of just how much money Lusaka City Council, for example, is able to collect from just two markets, two biggest markets in Lusaka, close to 100,000. That's a huge amount of money when you project it over 30 days. That's close to 3 million kwacha. So you can imagine the possibilities of what councils can do in the way of delivering critical public services such as infrastructure, water and sanitation, issues of making sure that council workers are paid a living wage, making sure that they pick up garbage in all our public spaces. But we've also been very clear that the reason why our young men and women were flocking to markets as a way of making a livelihood was because they never saw and they never had real opportunities anywhere else apart from these places. This is why the president continues, even right now, to emphasize the concept and idea of rapid economic transformation, because we need to rapidly build and expand opportunities for employment, entrepreneurship, and business-related enterprises for these young men and women away from markets. But even if they wanted to remain in those markets, we have always indicated that we can create new avenues of opportunities for these young men and women where they can literally collaborate with councils for purposes of delivering critical market services such as maybe security and also cleaning services. We don't need the disorder and the commotion that we used to see for the past 10 years in these marketplaces. And we've been very, very clear. Because this election was delivered not by the UPND, not for the UPND, but for every Zambian, we are saying we cannot and we shall not allow, not even those members who say they are part of the UPND, to start disobeying the law and causing commotion in those public institutions, such as markets and bus stations. The president has been very clear, and he continues to be very clear. He's saying his administration is an administration for all Zambians, not just for the UPND. So we are all going to have to play by what the law requires.
Well, the other aspect of it is obviously she talked about the free education, and you say that the president is committed to this, and there's no question on that commitment apart from basic when and how all of this is going to be done.
Remember what I said. So the president, Jonah, and we need.
Well, I haven't finished asking my question, and the question is, the president's mandate goes as far as 2026, according to him being voted on the 12th of August. Are you continuing to state right here tonight that this is going to be done within the period that the president has been given to run this country, that Jane Chilufia's children are going to be going to school for free, just as has been committed within this 5 years?
Therefore, ukula yaba fiash ba Jane pantu edo tuwale pita na turechita campaign ba president ba dilandiro okwe bati bene chava fisha apepo badilero pakwe bati babe kuona pa na pachipunanga bakateka mulandu wakwe bati bali kwete shuko da kwa kuskulu. Where he came from, he wasn't privileged. Like many children from underprivileged backgrounds, na vena balenda intamfuitali ukuya kuskulu without shoes. His lucky break was that at the time the government was committed towards ensuring that every child was given an opportunity to go to primary school, to go to secondary school. Whatever hurdles they faced, governments then had a responsibility and an obligation and a commitment to ensure that young men and women, young men like then our president, they were helped in the right way and given access to go to school. This is the same commitment which the president is making today. Ukwebat, gachakwa tumwana na kwa damano, mu college na mu primary school nefi ashara. The job of this new administration is to make sure that there is no child who gets chased from university on the basis that jaba fiashita bako itapa kuma ukuwako. Because bengi abana ba maskulu baleta mvya kuskulu pamlando wako bati limbi bafiro kumanisha 50% or 75%. The president is saying we cannot have a situation where young men and women are being thrown out of university simply because lelo we can't afford to raise money to go to school. And this is why the president also keeps on saying we need to revamp the economy in a big way so that at the most basic level, we make it possible for households. We make it possible for households to be able to provide the barest minimum of support to our children, young men and women who need to go to school and college. It must never occur, and it will never. This commitment the president has made, and you can hold him accountable to that.
Within the next 5 years.
Like I've said, his commitment still remains that no young man or woman should be chased out of school.
Within the next 5 years.
No young man or woman should be chased out of school because their parents do not have the ability to pay. He's made it very clear. And this is why we continue to say our job is to expand access and opportunities for learning. College, university, primary school. We can debate the how and timelines, but the commitment of the President, Jonah, remains absolutely undoubted, and you must not doubt it.
Except his mandate is within the 5 years, and whatever plans he has to make must be executed within his time frame. So is he going to do it within the next 5 years, or we have to debate the time?
This is not a president who believes that it must be him who must finish the race.
So it might not happen within the next 5 years.
He's here to set the right tone, so that you and I and everybody else, beginning now, should begin to get it into our hearts and into our minds that education is so crucial, it is so critical, that you cannot have a country such as Zambia, which is aspiring to move to the next level, failing to educate its best and the brightest. And the commitment that we're making is we will go to every length in this world to make sure that those kids who are talented enough to go through education, they are given an opportunity to go through education.
But
and
possibly
this is why,
not in this 5 years, but it could possibly not be in this 5 years.
And this is why, Jonah, in the president's continuing engagements, he's big about two issues because he recognizes that these are the two major impediments towards creating capacity for learning, for healthcare, for social protection. We are saying we need to resolve the public debt issue because the money that we previously were spending servicing public debt, this is the money which should have been going to making sure that more children, young men and women, were able to go through not just primary school and secondary school, but also
we've got Charles on the phone.
Also,
but before we bring on
also
Charles,
university. But
before we bring on Charles, I think
Jonah,
the primary question. Let me just make this question. If you would, and I'll gladly allow you to make the point. If you could just answer this question.
So that
do you have a time frame on when this is going to be done? Would like to know when you think this will be done.
Jonah, the work has started now, and we are working, and the president is working. This conversation is ongoing. Remember, and I was going to make the point, one of the reasons why the previous regime always used to say there was no money to support young men and women to get through higher education was because there was no money, right? But one of the big reasons was public corruption. We've always been on the record, you can't be losing $3 billion per year and then claim there's no money to support higher education and healthcare and social protection the right way. This is why the president, again, continues to strike a very strong tone against public corruption, and we're saying we need to give all law enforcement agencies, including the FIG and DEC. But this is what I'm saying, John. If you went to the FIG and the incredible work that they are doing, and other collaborating agencies such as ZRA and the place, if you ask them, put a stop to public corruption, these are processes. These are processes. And
I agree. They are processes. And based on that, are you not able to estimate or project? Because I know I want to believe that it's a team of people that are very well capable of doing that.
What I can tell you right now is work has begun. And with the newly found independence and autonomy, which we have guaranteed and assured to all of these critical institutions of governance to ensure that we put an end to grand-scale public corruption so that we can now begin to direct resources to critical areas of need such as education and health and social protection and support for agriculture. you will see progress, being made. And I think this is what Zambians wanted. They wanted a government that was going to be prepared to follow through its commitment and the things that we're saying. And now they have a government which clearly is following through with those commitments. Those are the things on the basis of which we must be held accountable. Those are the things
but without any time frame.
On
but
the
without
basis
any
of which
time frame.
the president must be held accountable.
But without any time frame.
Work has started, Jonah. Work has just started.
But there should be no expectation on when the work will be completed.
We must continue to work through these very difficult and arduous processes of making sure that we expand access for our citizens to education and healthcare and social protection.
Charles, but the question beyond what he said, if
yes.
I may just add on to what he says, I think beyond just Solwezi, the bigger question would be what the plan for the United Party for National Development is with regards to infrastructure development, keeping in mind that this is one of the major issues that the Patriotic Front government was raising as what they were dealing with. So how do you, as the UPND government, intend on dealing with this?
The president continues to be very, very clear that his administration, this administration, will continue to build infrastructure which is of quality standard, which is built at cost, not at inflated prices. Infrastructure that spurs the creation of of jobs amongst our young men and women, and also infrastructure projects that support the propping up of skills, engineers being seconded to work on government projects and so on and so forth. But the issue that he has raised at local level, I had an opportunity to sit in a meeting with the president 2 days ago when he was meeting the heads of some of the critical institutions. And he made mention of the issue of devolution, Jonah. Devolution or decentralization. So basically what this means is the president and this administration intends on giving local municipalities and councils more powers in the manner that revenues are raised and in the manner that revenues are dispensed with at a very local level. He specifically talked about the issue of CDF. We have a massive opportunity to leverage CDF by raising the quantum of amounts that are made available to our constituencies at local level, so that we can now use that money and pump it directly into the communities where people are. So you have young men like him participating in processes to rebuild infrastructure at local level, young men like him participating in skills development at local level. But all this is dependent on the president's commitment to prop up financing for local development endeavors, through CDF, and also supporting local councils the right way, so that we can give them new and added autonomy to raise revenue at local level and also administrate at local level. We think that that is going to enhance accountability and also stem the problem of grand-scale corruption, because you have a pyramid like this at the moment where everything literally happens in Osaka. So you find that corruption is converging here in Osaka at the apex, with politicians sitting at the top. But the president is saying we have no business holding on to resources which our local people need. We need to devolve power and resources to communities, give them more resources, give them more autonomy, because they know exactly what their issues are. They should be able to decide what the monies are used on. But the president also raised a very interesting idea, Jonah, that we want to build a culture of constituencies preparing 5-year plans, for example, on an annual basis, so that government is able to project that my constituency in Kabushi, over the course of the year, these are our spending priorities. Again, we're trying to enhance accountability and transparency in the manner that public resources are used. We need to be able to track progress. Leronga mwaya ku Kabushi, you ask for 10 years. Can you put together an inventory of the works that have been done in the constituency? There's absolutely nothing. So we need to build a new culture of holding ourselves accountable at a local level, build budgets and development plans at local level. The job of this president and this administration is to make sure that the critical resources which will be needed for those local jurisdictions, council level, constituency level to actualize those local development plans is that we fund them the best way that we can and on a timely basis.
Is the president going to reduce the size of cabinet when he does announce it?
The president is preoccupied with improving the efficiencies of how public resources are utilized. He's publicly stated, and famously so, that he doesn't see the reason why, just because, for argument's sake, and I'm not saying I'm going to be appointed Minister Jonah, he's publicly said, we cannot have government spending 2 million kwacha on a VX for Mr. Bwalya just because he's been appointed minister. The communities need this money. We need to run a government that is efficient, a government that is lean, a government that is not pampered.
So is the president going to reduce the size of
Our focus, Jonah, is to optimize how public resources are utilized. And all discussions incidental to that objective will be unfolding as and when government anchors down.
So you're not going to say whether the president will reduce cabinet?
No, but I just answered your question,
but
Jonah. We are determined, and the president is determined on optimizing the application of public resources for the benefit of our people. And all discussions incidental to actualizing that will continue to be had as and when government continues to anchor down.
When is the president going to announce his cabinet? Do you know that?
Jonah, the president is working. I just told you, even right now,
he's
working.
You said that. I like the fact that you've said that. But don't you think this is also an important question?
Of course.
Yeah, so when is the president going to announce his cabinet?
The president is within his time frame.
I agree, but when is he going to announce his cabinet?
And again, it's the same as when Jesus was asked, when is the kingdom of God going to come? He said, I don't know. Only the Father knows.
So I hope we're not waiting for the kingdom of God, because that could take a millennia.
Look, that is the president's prerogative, and he will announce his cabinet when he's ready. He takes that issue incredibly seriously, because that is very critical to him getting on with the job and the mandate which the Zambian people have given him. So I can assure you that he will be announcing his cabinet when he's ready.
Just out of curiosity, as we finalize, there's been this huge talk about these expensive cars, the GX, VXs. You've just talked about it now. Is there an idea on what your plan is, or the president's plan is, on what type of vehicles? Because you have to keep in mind.
But again, Jonah, the idea here is that we need to be efficient with how we use public resources. This is not just about the cars. It is generally about how public resources are channeled and applied. We have to start thinking of more and better efficient ways which optimize value in terms of services to ordinary citizens when it comes to the handling of public resources. That is the debate which the president is big about, and that is what he continues to encouraging all of us to do. We have to innovate around the use of public resources, and we have to remember that we have been elected to serve, not to pamper ourselves. So when public resources are available, the foremost question is not what's in it for me. The foremost question is how do we best optimize service delivery for people in Kalingalinga, for people in Kabushi, for people in Chavuma? How do we expand learning opportunities? How do we deliver better social protection? How do we ensure that pensioners are paid their pension benefits? Those are the core areas of conversation. So it's not really about the cars, Jonah. It's about delivering new efficiencies and accountability in the manner that public resources are utilized, and the president remains committed to that.
All the callers, well, most of them that have called tonight are saying they agree that it's too early, and really it is too early to talk about anything. There's nothing to talk about at the moment, apart from whether or not the president is going to step out.
Insofar as the president is concerned, it's not even too early. For him, work has started. And for all of us around him, work has started. And it's quite nice that the Zambian people are saying it's too early. But for us, work started many, many years ago, because we were very clear about what the problems were. We're also very clear about what the strategies of resolving those problems were. The president has been very clear for a very long time. So for him, there's really been no rest. And there will be no rest.
Which leads me to the question I was going to ask: how you feel about the critics that have already come out, the opposition political parties or opposition members that have come out to talk about their expectations of the government. And just today, we had one such project being launched. It's been called the Operation Binoculars by former nominated member of parliament Raphael Nakachinda, and he's talking about the free education agenda, and he's saying the president must come out and announce to the schools and the like. How does that make you feel? How do you feel about this?
The president has always spoken honestly about the need for enhanced accountability and the enjoyment of freedoms, political freedoms, and other incidental, freedoms in that order. So therefore, we're not complaining. I think people are entitled to expressing their opinions in the manner that the new administration should work. For us, our job and the president's job is to keep the focus and remember that we are serving at the behest of the Zambian people, and therefore our responsibility is to channel our energy and resolve and our mental faculties towards finding solutions to the problems which the Zambian people are saying we need to find solutions to. So we are not going to get in the way of those who want to express a different opinion, to detract us and derail us on the path that we're on. But we want to assure the Zambian people, and we want to assure our critics that we are here, the president is here to run a government for all Zambians, and his resolve and commitment on making good on all the things that we said we were going to do remains undeterred. Right now we're having all the critical conversations that we believe in the fullness of time are going to contribute towards making sure that the aspirations, the basic aspiration of every Zambian are met. Having food on the table, access to healthcare, education and social protection, and so on and so forth.
You can trust us, Mr. Bwalya, to follow up these issues.
No, absolutely. I mean, and we'll be open to engage. Like I said, the president continues to say that we shall run a government that is transparent, a government that is accountable. So when there are areas of question to be raised, we'll be open to that, and we'll be happy to provide answers and work through the solutions with you, our colleagues, and including our critics. So there's nothing odd about that. We're prepared for it.
Presidential Spokesperson Anthony Bwalya, thank you so much for joining us on Diamond Live tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the show tonight, Thursday, but this is where we get to end the show. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday at 21:15 hours. My name is Dingindaba Jonah Bwalya. Keep watching Diamond TV. Good night.